For Joanie and Gary McGuffin, this is the end of their 3-month-long paddle through the forests of northern Ontario. For their friends and well-wishers, it's a chance to welcome them back in true voyageur style to Fort St. Joseph, just east of Sault Ste. Marie. One can't help feeling that if the voyageurs were still here, they would be the first with their congratulations and the first to wish them well on the next leg of their journey, speaking to audiences about the forests of northern Ontario and how much more they mean to us than just pulp and timber. Just like any great adventure story, to truly appreciate the ending, you have to start at the beginning. And for the McGuffins, the idea to bring worldwide attention to the ancient forests of northern Ontario came from an obvious source.
I can remember last year in the middle of the Algoma Highlands at Lance Lake, just sitting in the forest amongst the big pine up on this high ridge and looking at ridge after pine and just looking at the trees and actually speaking with the trees and saying, what can we do? Because we know you're disappearing. And it was like the response we got back was just do what you do best. And that's adventure, paddle, photograph, communicate the way you do.
And so the journey began. From their start in Algonquin Provincial Park, the McGuffins paddled the lakes and rivers of an ancient northern waterway. Their 1,000-mile canoe trip led them through Grey Owl country, from Temagami to the Mississauga River, and then onto the water they call home, Lake Superior.
Well, now it's easy going. We're out on Lake Superior, our own backyard. We know this lake really well because we live on it, we've paddled around it. And we get to Montreal River where, again, a great welcome from all the local people, and we figure, okay, we'll be ready. We've got lots of water now. It really doesn't, I mean, how much water can go out of Lake Superior before we can't paddle on it? It won't be anything like Lance Lake or Farewell Creek or the west of Minnedoong. But then we forget, oh yeah, the winds on Lake Superior.
Strong winds, rough water, and paddling from sunup to sundown made for a challenging week along Superior. But with those trials behind them and their destination in sight, a final night under the stars gave them a chance to reflect on their incredible journey.
I stood out here on the shores last night, well, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, watching the ships go by. Thought what a different place it was from the entire journey out here on the St. Mary's River in the low grass. And I thought, can I remember all those campsites? And I could. I recalled every single one of them across my home, Northern Ontario.
Now, under rainy skies, Joanie, Gary, and their traveling companion, Kalijah, prepare for the last leg of their trip to Fort St. Joseph. But unlike most days, where only water and wilderness greet them, the McGuffins are met by a group of modern-day voyageurs.
Two most important people, the person in the stern, the person in the bow. The person in the stern gives all the orders.
Some last-minute preparations. With the canoes in place, Gary steals a moment to reflect and appreciate how far they've come. For Joanie, it's a chance to exchange stories.
We've had a warm welcome from Northern Ontario all the way across, and I think that's the other thing to remember, and through Gary's images and our stories, that people are a part of this landscape too, and it's the stories that they've shared with us that we're just another voice to take their stories along too.
With a little push and a few dips of a paddle, the crew takes off. A traditional voyageur salute, and a quick canoe trick. Set the tone for the final stretch. It's been a journey of discovery and inspiration.
I don't like the connotation that there's just old trees out there. Yes, we saw stands of big old pine or cedar or, trees that go back many generations in human lives. But in terms of the old landscape, the original landscape, there is very little of it left out there. And we're very lucky in Northern Ontario that we have Well, less than 1% of that original mixed forest lies on the North American landscape, and Northern Ontario has most of it, and well, pretty well all of it. And the places that we've paddled in, I think that we've been able to bring a perspective to it by, you know, this thread of a journey that links the waterways together, and understanding that there's, you know, corridors between forests is a very important thing.
We thought there was certainly an immediacy to getting the message out, and that's why we went for the satellite imagery, the satellite communication, the website, trying to work with a national newspaper chain to get stories out immediately. And I mean, we've done the best we could. We've done, I mean, that was sort of a dream beyond the adventure itself.
If it's anything, it's to open people's eyes to the appreciation of a special place in the world that we have.
With the McGuffins in sight, an eager bunch of fans, friends and family wait at the water's edge. An old-fashioned welcome awaits these paddling pioneers. And after a journey that's traced the footsteps of fur traders and voyageurs, it seems fitting that the McGuffins end their adventure at one of Canada's historic sites, Fort St. Joseph. In the early 1800s, it was a place to exchange pelts. Today, it's a place to exchange handshakes.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for all coming out today, paddlers who paddled with us, and all of you here. Thanks for your welcome. Thanks, Joan. And you too.
With this journey over, a new one begins. In 1999, they hope to embark upon a similar 1,000-mile journey. The difference? They'll depart in January, travel by dog sled and explore Northern Ontario's winter heritage. But for now, they plan to spend their time gathering pictures and sharing stories from the ancient forest.
So all we can do is just set aside these remaining pieces of original forest and say, you know, they're complex, they're beautiful, they originated out of the Ice Age, and if we don't keep them this way, in Northern Ontario, we're the only people that really have an opportunity in the world to say, you know, this is a different future for these than just letting them disappear.
Joanie and Gary McGuffin are highly skilled and very hardy outdoor adventurers. And some people might be tempted to say that the stories of their Northern Ontario journey will do nothing more than appeal to a romantic sense of yearning in those of us whose lives are led closer to cities. But what they've set out to do is to use sophisticated technology to bring the forest and their very vivid descriptions of it into our daily lives, so as to remind us that untouched forest is part of our heritage, and that forested landscapes are an important ingredient in defining our country and ourselves as Canadians.